Hey there, Ron here. I thought it would be a good idea to take some time to go over this property information sheet, which is the heartbeat of our business in the term side of the business. This sheet is the paper that collects all the information from the seller when our VAs call them or when you call them, and then this comes to you, and then you simply have to use our scripts below to fill in this little box right here. If you go down below, you'll see a link to our $1 million scripts. And believe me, that's exactly what they are. You'll find them short, easy to read, and will get the seller to a conclusion on your terms. My friends, the whole purpose of this sheet is to collect the information from the seller. I would prefer you let our VAs do it. But if you're going to do it or they're going to do it, we start here. Our goal is to get this box filled out. And of course, our end goal is to get terms out of the seller's mouth that are satisfactory to make us want to now make an appointment and go to the house. Even an appointment script is in your scripts below. So go get that link and print out those scripts. You'll find them very, very profitable if you use them and you read them exactly as I wrote them. It took a long time to create those scripts, and they work, and they work, and they work. So let's start with this. First, when will you need this? You'll need this anytime you're doing any kind of potential terms deal with any kind of a seller of any kind of single family houses, large or small. Because without this, you have no information, you have no idea whether it's a suspect or a prospect, or whether it's even worth chasing. So let's start at the top here. Let's say you're the one making these calls, which many people do in the beginning until they quickly learn, I don't want to do this anymore. Because honestly, making the calls and filling these out is going to take a lot of time. It's hard to get people on the phone. So I'd let the virtual assistants do it if I were you for a very small amount of money. But if you're going to do it on the front end, people ask me all the time, well, do you have a script for this? Well, guys and gals, this is the script. There is no script, this is it. You go down the line and you fill in the blanks. You start the call with, let's say you're calling them on an ad or a sign in front of their house. I'm calling about the house you have advertised. That's it. And then you start asking questions. If you're calling them back after the VA sent you this, then you're going to open it just as I say on the scripts below. Go get the link and print them out, and you'll see just exactly how to open the conversation. And you don't need to go over this again because you already have this stuff in front of you. So now the conversation is about getting the answers to this, not going over all this again. So let the VAs do their job and you'll find your job a lot easier. You have to start up here by getting the information about the house, about the seller, the address of the house, the city, the area of town, and the phone number right here. We use this for our client students because there are 3 events where students bring these to us, and then we call them for them, make the call to get this block filled out, and then teach them how to follow up from there. Those events are our 1-day fast track workshop, which I do all over the country, and I personally teach it. You'll see the link below to learn all about it. Another one is our Quickstart Real Estate School, which is a 4-day event that I still personally teach. That's the basic training for the business. Link below, go check that out because that's where you want to be if you're going to do this as a career or even a part-time business. And then lastly, our annual Great American Real Estate Summit. Man, do we screen them there. We have a whole team come in and call hundreds and hundreds of these that our students bring in. And in fact, the last one we did, we created over $3 million worth of net profit just for the students, just for bringing these and letting us work them. At our 4-day event, I don't know how many deals, 20, 30 deals at least for the students who bring these things. And even at our 1-day event with a limited time, we knock out 5, 6, 7 deals in the short time we have. But it starts with this. Without this, we have nothing to work with. So I'm just getting the information as I go down as I'm talking to the seller. There's the owner's name, the email, the cell phone. This phone over here is actually for you if you're submitting this to us. And this client student obviously is you. And I'd like to know the source. Where did you get your lead from? Did it come from our Gold Club leads daily? Did it come from a sign? Did we generate it? because our virtual assistants go online and generate leads for our members. Fill this in, but this is mostly for you except the address in the city. Over here is where I start with the seller. I want to get their personal information, their phone, and how to reach them. And then, of course, I want to ask their asking price. As you've got, notice star. If it's got a star, we need the answer. If we don't get the answer to the stars, there's nothing we can do with this sheet till somebody calls and gets the answers. And by the way, you cannot go online and fill out this sheet. Okay? If you're not willing to call the seller and get the answers to this sheet, you're going nowhere unless you get somebody else to do it. Now, who would that somebody else be? I get it. Our virtual assistants. Let us do what we do best so you can do what you do best and follow up on these things with a short call after they're filled out. All right, so asking price. That's where the seller's going to tell you what they want, and then what do you think? What do they think it'll appraise for? I want to know that because I want to know what's on the seller's mind. Do they think it's worth more than it is? Less than it is? Are they pretty much right on target? Now, I don't know for sure how close the seller is to the real value until I do my own comps. This is not, your comps and rent comps are not for you to ask the seller. So please make a note. These are for you to do. I even gave you the websites here. realestateabc.com and rentometer.com is where you go get this information. But listen to this closely. We do not need comps on a house we're never going to buy. Do not spend your time on these sites pulling up this information before you make the call. Waste of time. We do this after we get the answers from A or B here and determine whether we even care enough to go see what the market value is. Got it? Okay, I don't want to hear about you bringing in a stack of papers like that deep on houses you don't even really know if they're interested in taking terms on or not. This whole sheet is based on the sellers who agree to accept terms, and then we have to get to a conclusion on what those terms are. That's what this is all about. The pretty house business is a synonym for terms. We're only going to work with the sellers who are willing to take terms. There's only 3 kinds of terms. You lease option it from the seller, or you buy it with owner financing, or you take over the debt subject to, which means you just, seller deeds you the house and walks away. So if the seller's not willing to do one of those 3, we have no reason to continue the conversation with them, nor to care what their house is worth. So I'll get to that in a second. But this block right here is critical. If I do not get the mortgage balance, if I don't get the loan balance, the question is, what do you owe? And most of the time you'll get an answer. What do you owe? And if they do come back and say, I don't think that's any of your business, go down below, download the scripts, and you'll see a rebuttal to that question when they don't want to give you the loan amount. I don't care who the lender is, frankly. I don't even care what the rate is. But I must have the payment. So I have to have the loan and the payment amount, because that information alone, my friend, will determine, will make or break the deal. When you're in the terms business, it's all built around what they owe, if anything. So you put 0 there, which obviously means a 0 payment, or you put the amount and you put the payment. Simply ask, which is why you cannot get this anyplace except out of the seller's mouth. It also says here, what I would say is, I assume your payment includes taxes and insurance. It's almost always yes. And I also assume it's current. It's almost always yes. We're not chasing people in foreclosure. I want their payments to be current. I'm looking for people who want to sell their house but will accept terms over an all cash. And don't you think for a minute there's not a ton of them out there, because there is. This is how we pre-screen them out right here. We can't deal with the masses. We can only deal with the minority, but the minority is way more than you're going to be able to handle, and it's enough to make you 7 figures a year if you follow my lead. I got a list of people this long doing it. Why not you? Okay, so and then if they are in arrears, I'd like to have a general amount to catch up. That's all I need. I don't need any more details than that. If they're in arrears, how far in arrears? How many dollars would it take to catch up? Because that's going to influence my decision on my offer, or maybe even get me to the point of no offer, because they owe so much on the house and they're so far behind, there's nothing I can do with it. Now see these 2 big blocks. Now in case you have a copy of my old version, you'll notice it says A, B, and C. Well, nowadays it's just A and B. I'm always on a quest to make it simpler. The old B was a lease option question, but since we would then take the lease option question and convert it to an owner financing question, I decided to do away with the lease option question because our end goal is to buy it with owner financing, not lease option anyway. However, I got you covered in B. Let me get to A first. Notice it says if the asking price and the loan balance are within $35,000, you ask this question: will you sell the house for what you owe? And then you must check one, yes or no. If it's a yes, you need to get the rest of this information, if it's not already sent to you by your VA, and go directly to the appointment script, because it's time to make an appointment. If they check yes here, they're willing to sell you the house for the amount of their debt. And if you go to the script that applies to A on the scripts, you'll see it makes it clear to them that you're not going to pay their loan off, you're going to take over their debt, you're going to make payments till sometime in the future when it's paid off. When they say yes on your script that that's okay, now you go directly to the appointment script. Guys, it's never been easier. This is not rocket science. If you can read the scripts and get the answers here. So if they say yes, you've probably got a deal. They're willing to give you the house and walk away. Now what if they say no? Well, look at the line here. If you can read it, if we take over your debt and pay all the closing costs, what's the least you could accept for your equity? In other words, let's say a seller's asking $200,000 for the house and they say it's worth about $200,000, but they only owe $100,000. Under no circumstances do you ever ask this question. You're asking the seller if they'll take $100,000 for the house they're asking $200,000 for. Now what's that going to make you look like? Brand new seminar graduate and an idiot. You just killed a relationship. So please remember this. There must be a small gap between the loan and the asking for you to ask this question at all. But when they give you a no, this question, if I take over your debt and pay all the costs, what's the least you could accept? Maybe they're asking $200,000, but they owe $180,000 on it. Okay, if that's the case, you absolutely ask this question because they have a small gap there. However, if they say no, now go down here, and you might be surprised when you learn that they would take $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 moving money, that they don't really have to have the 20, that equity is not near as important to them as getting rid of the debt and getting out of the house. You won't know that unless you ask the questions on the script. How much is the least you'll take for your equity? You fill the blank in there. Now if you can go out and take over a debt and you have to put up $3,000 to buy a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood and get it for free, so be it. I'd like to train you first on it, but most of these are deals, some of them are not, because maybe the payment's too high or for whatever reason. Maybe the debt is full market value of the house. I don't know. This is why you come to training. By the way, you'll find links down below to our Quickstart school. May I suggest you get there as quick as you can, where we work dozens and dozens and dozens of these live in class. We call them, we take the call, email you the tape, and then I go over all the deals on the stage and show you how to turn them into big, big money. Starts with this thing. All right, B. B has been rewritten, and it is a work of art. So if A is not applicable, or they say no to A, then you go to B. Well, we can either lease your home with an option to buy, or purchase it as soon as you're ready to close, and we usually pay all the closing costs. Would you consider taking a monthly payment until we pay you off in full? Those are magic words. Those are $1 million words right there. Now, if they get a yes, you've got a seller who said, yes, I'd consider terms, taking a monthly payment. If they say no, now you're coming down here. So you're saying the only way to sell is if we get you cashed out now? Now, of course, most people want cashed out now. Most people want retail price. You cannot get upset because that's the majority. We're working the minority, and we get to the minority by asking these questions right here, which I hope you'll let your VA ask for you. So, okay, so if they say, no, I want cashed out now, well, it's simple. Well, okay, I understand that won't work for us. Thank you. Get off the phone. You're done. If they say, well, no, I didn't really mean that, then so you're saying you would like to hear about how to sell your house immediately. And if that's the case, you go right to the appropriate script and read it to them, which explains what we do, and it gets them to tell us what the terms are. So very easy to read. Our VAs will do it for you, but if you're going to be on the phone, then you must ask these questions. Guys and gals, if you don't get an answer to A or B, you might as well not even fill in the blanks on the rest of the sheet, because we have nothing to work with. This is the reason we're calling right here, to screen out the ones who will take terms. Next block, how did you arrive at your asking price? Not a killer question I have to have the answer to, but I'd like to know, just so I would know and why they're selling. Sometimes the reason they're selling will tell you their real motivation. And then, does it need repairs? You'd like to know that, wouldn't you? So it's either going to need no repairs, which is normal, or little repairs, or a lot of repairs. If it needs a lot of repairs, that's going to totally change the way we buy the house, so I need to know that answer. And approximately, I'm not asking for them to give you a repair estimate. How much do you think it would take to get your house back in shape? How many dollars would you guess? That's all I want them to say. And by the way, they're high. Anytime they come out of their mouth with a number, I know we can do it for a lot less, assuming we even want to do it. Because in the pretty house business, I don't repair houses very often. I sell them as is to lease option tenant buyers. Now, vacant or occupied, that wouldn't be important or anything, would it? Yes, it would. If they're vacant, man, your heart ought to start beating, because you'll have instant access. You can get to the money quickly. We get in and out of these houses usually within 30 days and get checks $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or more. So the quicker I can get to work, the better. So I love the vacants. We don't worry about, if it's occupied, you check it, but you don't worry about when they're going to leave. You don't press that. Just check that it's occupied. That's something to do when and if you actually go to the house. When do you want to get out of the house is the question when you're there. All right. Now, when do you want to move? I have it here for a reason, and that is because if they want to move ASAP, oh, I know I got a hotter prospect. If they want to move 6 months from now, I know I got a very cold prospect, and I'm 6 months off of getting paid. But doesn't mean I won't do the deal, but it does mean I can't expect a check in the next 30 days. When do you want to move is not the same question as when can you be out of the house once we have arrived at terms we both can accept. When do you want to move is a generality. This question up here is a specific question, the date you plan to move, because we need to put that in the agreement if they're in the house. Is the house listed? Very important, because if the house is listed, you got to hit the brakes. You cannot just go buy a house that's listed without expecting some repercussions from the realtor. The realtor has a binding contract on this house called a listing agreement. So if you go buy it, you owe them commission, or the seller owes them, or somebody owes them. So you've only got 3 choices. Wait till the listing expires, but the choice I use the most is try to get the seller to ask the realtor to release the listing once you guys have come to terms. All that is an email from the realtor. That's all we need. And if that's the case, you can go to work immediately, or you can wait out the listing, or somebody can pay the commissions if it is a good enough deal to warrant doing so. And that's a case-by-case thing. I have paid commissions because I got so much equity in the house, I didn't want that commission to deter me from actually getting that equity. So use common sense here. Sometimes you have to come out of pocket with some money to get at a lot more money. And I'm always happy to write a small check to get a big check. Again, you do not fill this out. Well, if you're the one filling this whole sheet out, then you must go right to the scripts and link below to ask the questions to get this blank filled in. Our VAs will not fill in this blank for you. I don't want them to. I won't let them. This is critical information right here, and I do not want them. I don't want them making a mess of this. This is what I'm going to train you to do, and this is the whole reason right here. This is our whole reason for being in this business, is that little old tiny block right there. Because the answers that the seller gives you in that block will determine whether you want to go to the house, on whether it's a great deal, a good deal, or a crappy deal. So we have to get that block filled out. Now down here, of course I want to know the number of bedrooms and baths, and I want to know the square footage. And of course I want to know if it's a condo or a townhouse, and if it's either, I want to know what the association dues are, and whether they're per month, per year. So I got it right here so you can't forget to ask it. Because that's important. Sometimes the condo dues are so high to kill the whole deal for us. So we need to know this right up front. Now our VAs will ask all of this, but again, if you're calling, you've got to fill all this out. Now when you get it, you go right to the scripts below, eliminate the first paragraph because it's an introductory paragraph, which you don't need because you're already on the phone, and get the answers to these 3 questions right here. You already got the answer to price. If you go in the script and see, there's a question there that asks them, is that the best you can do? We get the price down, and then we go to the down payment script, the monthly, and the term. And these are 1 sentence each that you ask the seller, and then there's a rebuttal sentence if you don't like the answer. That's it. And then you have the answers here, and then, again, now you know whether to proceed or whether to dump this thing. So go download the scripts and study them. Now there's a no script in the group. It's called no script. It doesn't mean there's no script there. And that's for the people who say no to terms. Might want to take a look at it as well, because it will take a lot of the apparent no's on terms questions and turn them into yeses when the seller has time to understand what you're talking about. Just remember now, when a VA is calling these folks, and they're asking them these questions point blank, it might catch them by surprise and they just automatically say no because they don't really know what it means. If you read the no script to them after they've said no here, they will know what it means, and then you can quickly determine whether they really mean it or whether we're back into getting the terms questions answered. All right, I think I covered that well enough. Just remember, fill these things out. When you come to class, please fill them out. I can tell you right now, if you don't get an A or a B filled in, when you come to class, you're going to go to the bottom of the pile, because we're going to call all the ones we got answers to first, and then work our way down to the ones we didn't get answers to. So your chances are going to be better if you get me the right answers when you bring these. Remember, you can bring them to the Fast Track Workshop, you can bring them to a 4-day Quickstart School, or you can bring them to the once-a-year Great American Real Estate Summit. Now, let's talk for a minute about where are you going to get the leads to call. Well, honestly, when you let me train you, there's a whole list of things that we do. Nobody does the whole list, but there's a couple of easy things you can do right now to get more leads than you can handle, to get more sheets than you can handle. You only need a handful of these sheets, and by using the scripts here, you're going to turn one of them into a deal very quickly. And when I say a deal, I mean a deal. The pretty house business means we get it beautiful, we sell it beautiful on terms, we get terms from the seller, we give terms to the buyer, we're in, we're out, no costly rehabs, no realtors, no costly entanglements, no banks, none of that junk. That's why 95% of everything I do today is the pretty house business, starting with this magic form right here. So let's talk about where you're going to get the leads. Number 1, have you ever seen a for sale by owner sign in front of a house? Yes, you have. Well, now start looking for them. Take your cell phone out, just snap a picture of the sign. You don't even need a picture of the house. Just snap a picture of the sign, make sure you can read the phone number. Now, of course, what are you going to do with the phone number? I get it. You're going to call it, and you're going to fill out this sheet. Or you're going to simply forward it to your virtual assistant and let them do this for you. How many of those do you think you can find a week if you're actually now starting to look? Make a point. Drive through the neighborhoods and look for them. That's one way. By the way, there's some good leads. I find some of the best quality leads are those for sale by owner signs in front of the house. Do not ignore them any longer. In fact, when I get you in training, I'll show you how to get a whole flood of leads to you, like in a couple of days, by having an army of people out there looking for sale by owner signs for you. But for right now, let's just have you go collect a few. Also, do you have the internet? I bet you do. The internet is loaded with sites with people advertising their house for sale. You want to know one of the best ones? Zillow, believe it or not Craigslist. Yes, you need to check Craigslist, but Zillow has more leads than Craigslist does. There's a whole host of sites. In fact, if you want, why don't you go to Google and put in, I want to buy a house in whatever city you're in, or I have a house for sale in whatever city you're in, and here come a pile of websites where people advertise their houses for sale. Okay, so how much does it cost to call somebody from their ad? Remember, they're advertising. They want you to contact them. You're a welcome guest, not an unwanted pest. And if they're putting the sign out in front of the yard, they're the same way. All right? Now, I can tell you that we can feed you FSBO leads in your area every single day into your inbox. If you haven't joined the Gold Club, go do it now. ronsgoldclub.com. Links down below. And sign up. It's only $59 a month. And one of the incredible benefits for that is every day we have a huge web scouring company scour hundreds of sites and drag down all the FSBOs, and then we send the ones to you that are in your 2 counties that you pick. Every day here comes FSBO leads, and you get all the information you need to call them. Then you get this sheet filled out, or you let your virtual assistants do it for you, and now you're in business. It has begun. So the biggest hurdle that you're going to crack if you're going to be successful is simply get on the phone, read my scripts, get these blanks filled in, get to the house, and get an agreement. My friends, if you can master that, and it's not hard to master, you are in the terms business because everything else is automated and easy. Selling a house, piece of cake. Don't need to worry about selling a house when you're offering it on terms, and you will be selling most of these on terms. So it starts with a sheet. Get them wherever you can get them. Join the Gold Club and we'll send them to you. Get a virtual assistant and they'll call them for you. And then you won't even know they're doing it until you get them. So ronsgoldclub.com. All right. With that said, I think that's enough for you to know how to fill this out, how to come see me live and help me working for you. The scripts are down below to end the call, to get to a conclusion. And the rest is training applied to action. And one more thing, if you don't have these on your desk, you don't have a business. Just floundering around trying to figure out what to do next and nothing's coming together and you're wondering why you're not making any money because you don't have these. Now the second big point, if you have a stack of these on your desk, but you're not making the call to get this, you have nothing. So 2 very important ingredients. Get a constant lead flow coming in, which we'll do for you if you let us, automate it. Make these calls, you only make a few a month. You go visit 2 or 3 houses a month, that's all you need to do. Everybody's got time to do that, so don't give me the time excuse. You've taken all the time out of it. I still buy 2, 3, 4 houses a month. I promise you I don't work 5 hours a month in real estate. I do it in an osmosis state without even stirring up the molecular structure of my brain because everything is done for me except make the decisions. With this information, I can make the decisions. In your beginning, you have to get the information, the decisions will be yours, and in time I'll train you how to replace yourself and get you out of your own way. See you soon.